feisty.
Look out.
Woo!
Yeah.
We got the door open. We're soaking in some sunshine. We got energy flowing today. Woo! The candles are lit. What else did I do? Oh man, I was
Clapped it out.
I was spraying stuff all over the house.
Yeah, awesome. Spraying mud. That's a great, I mean, we're going to talk about other things, but that's a great like segue into one of the most amazing tips for Feng Shui is
the clapping.
Clapping it out.
I did a little inspired thought YouTube audio on that after.
Yeah. Awesome.
After I did it yesterday.
Yep.
Okay, yes, we are going to talk about making big decisions, but Jen's right. This is one of my favorite tips that she taught me. So you give your version of it. So easy.
So like the short version of explaining this is that energy, which flows, right, all around us, through us, we're made of energy. Everything in this house, everything around us is made of energy. And that energy can get stuck, right? And the whole idea around Feng Shui is keeping that energy flowing. So if energy gets stuck, it gets stale, and we feel that, and we get stale and stuck. And yeah, so
I keep smelling this super stale smell, which is so weird. Somebody said to me recently, like, do you smell smells? Do you hear some voices? Like all this crazy blue stuff. I was like, smells. But I keep smelling this super stale smell. It's like musty, stale, and it might actually be in my house.
Yeah, I actually experienced the same thing. Yeah, this morning I was like, what is that smell? And it ended up being a sponge.
Oh.
Yeah, but it was like filling up a part of the house that was really nasty, right? So
bad energy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
So your bad energy might be coming from your sponge.
Just remember that. Tip number one. So anyway, so getting that stale energy out of your living environment is crucial. So so one of the best techniques that you can do that's super easy is clapping out the corners of your house. And it sounds a little crazy, but when you do it, you will see why it is actually a thing. So I usually start at the bottom. I do 3 claps. I start lower, and then I raise it up, okay? And the most amazing thing I love about this technique is you can actually hear the clarity, right? You can hear the clarity, you can hear the stuckness, and then you can hear it clear out. So the first clap will be kind of like a thud, you know, and then the middle ones, maybe a little bit, you know, higher frequency, higher, what's the word that I'm trying to say? But there's a
frequency.
Is it frequency? Yeah. Okay. So frequency. So
vibration.
It's more of a, right. There's more of a thud, and then as you work your way up and the energy starts to clear out, it actually gets to like this higher frequency, and it resonates that when you clap, it's like this really clean, crisp clap. And that's how you know that the energy is moving again. So go experiment with that because it's really cool.
I forgot. That's probably how you taught it to me. So yeah, I learned something. That's probably how you taught it to me, that 3 claps up, but I didn't do it like yesterday. So this video yesterday, I was in a funk. So I ran around my house clapping like a serious crazy person, just like stirring things up. It's almost like if you turn on music and you dance kind of thing. So but it's just like clapping like crazy in every single room in the house. And I got to one room, which was not a room I would have expected to be stale energy.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you could hear it.
Yeah.
And I was like, circle back around that room.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. It was my helpful people area.
Oh.
And I was like,
oh, okay.
I would have thought the energy was pretty good in there.
Yeah. Wow.
That was interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I will. I'm gonna go back around today and do the 3 clap thing.
Yeah. And you don't have to, you know, do what feels right to you. That's the most important thing with Feng Shui is do what feels right to you.
Even if you feel like you're a crazy person.
Yep. Especially if you feel like you're a crazy person. But I will start with the 3. If it doesn't feel like it's clearing out, then I go back through and keep clearing.
Cool.
Sometimes I feel like I've got to like clap faster. Sometimes I
yeah.
So you just kind of follow, just keep breathing and follow whatever that natural rhythm feels like for you. Really important piece too is to afterwards wash your hands, right? Because that stuck energy can kind of, it's not like dangerous or anything like that, but might as well, get rid of it if, in any way that you can. So
or just like shake
it out, go outside.
Like outside.
Yeah, exactly. Shake it out. Yeah. Love the woo. Yeah.
That's so good. Okay, so that's actually a great place to start if you're making a decision in your life. Stir up the energy so that you can make a really good decision. And let's just talk about like what kinds of decisions you might be making. So you might be deciding whether or not to have another baby. You might be deciding
not having another baby.
Writing that up right now. You might be deciding about a career change or a job change, or this is really present for us because we've talked to a lot of people recently who are deciding whether or not to join our amazing program.
Right.
Join it, obviously.
Right. Come on.
But I totally, we get it.
Yes.
We totally get it from the other side because we've been there. We've been there going like, should I do this?
Right.
Can I do this? Am I going to screw up? Like what?
How do I find clarity around making that decision?
So maybe it's investing in a program. Maybe it's deciding whether or not to go back to school. Maybe it's, I don't know, what are some other big decisions?
Changing jobs, starting your own business.
Yes, starting your own business. Moving.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things that come up, right? Time, money, relationships, and then of course fear, faith, trust, resources. So we kind of just jotted down some of the most common things that come up for people. We're going to talk through those. And we're going to, because the program is so present for us, and because we're talking to people who are making these decisions. Hello, live viewer. Give us a shout out. We'll give you one back. Whoever you are. That's how much my page is reaching. I'm like, hello, live viewer. No, but a lot of people have been watching the replay, which is awesome. Yeah, totally. I love that. Yeah. So we wrote out 5 common things that are coming up for people in making any decision, but in particularly deciding to invest in a program. And we're just going to run through those with whatever amount of time we have.
Yeah.
So the first one that's really common for people when they're just making a decision about any kind of change in their life is, I can't see how I'm going to fit it into my schedule. I'm already strung out and overwhelmed and confused and stressed. So how the heck can I add something?
Right.
How am I gonna find time?
Right.
And another one that might be exercise is another one that might be a thing for people. So starting a new exercise program or a new diet change. So that's a really big one. I can't see how I will find the time for this.
Right.
So what are some of your suggestions when people, or what are some of your responses when people say I don't think I have the time to do?
Yeah. I what comes to mind is that how can you, what's your life look like on the other side of this, right? How can you not make time for it, right? Just the exercise or the life-changing situations, how do you want to feel? And so how do you want to feel on the other side of that? And if that is what's driving this whole thing, then how can you not make the time, right? And I feel like time is, whenever someone says, and I do this as well, whenever someone says, I don't have time, I think it's a self-limiting belief, right? Because we have the time for the things that are a priority in our life, right? That we make a priority, right? And so if we're making,
Karen. Hi, Karen.
Nice. Awesome. If we're making, channel surfing or Facebook swiping or, endless kind of useless stuff like that a priority, right? If we can take those little things that are not giving us joy, that are not giving us, raised levels of health, and we minimize that, all of a sudden this whole piece of time opens up, right? So it's really about like setting those priorities and making the room for them.
You really create the time.
You do.
It's the weirdest thing. Like, think about the most successful people you know. You're like, they have the same 24 hours as I do. How are they writing books and running corporations and raising 4 kids? And like, but you create the time in so many ways. Like, you leverage, right? You get help from people. You fill in pockets. You get rid of things that are not serving you.
That's the biggest one, I think.
Yeah, I know, but it's hard to see the things that aren't serving you sometimes when you're making that decision, I think.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I don't scroll Facebook that much. Or, well, I don't even have time to watch movies, so I can't cut those out.
Right.
So I want to just give some examples, and then I want to hear from you if there's a Feng Shui space in our house that is connected to time. But I want to give some examples, right? For anyone who's a mother, who had time to have a baby, right? Like, who had time to raise another kid? Because before I had kids, my life was very busy. How was I going to take care of a baby? And then I had one. I was like, well, this is exhausting and consumes all of my time, and it's amazing, but I don't have time for another. But we make that decision anyway, and it just happens.
Right.
It's not like you get out your calendar and you schedule time for your second kid.
Right. Yeah.
It shows up the way that it needs to. Your heart changes, your mind changes, your relationships change, and you create time for that second baby.
Right.
Or like, what's another example? I started exercising it feels like but it was November. Just like, go me.
Yeah.
Because that's a long time for me to exercise consecutively. But one of my deciding factors in hiring or starting group training was I don't have time. Like, I don't have time to work out twice a week.
Right.
And what that did is it added more time because I had more energy and I had more clarity, and I was getting out of my head and into my body. And so I even said to him, I think, well, I'll try it for you buy a 10 session card. So I'll try it for 10 sessions, but if I don't have time, I'm not going to do another session. Now I can't imagine my life without exercise. Like, if I miss one day, I go twice a week. This is the extent of my exercise, people. But if I miss one day, like, I notice in my head, in my heart, in my body. So I didn't have time to exercise. Having kids is such a good one. What else? There's so many other things like that, where if you really look at something new in your life and you think like, well, how did I make time for that?
Right.
The time just showed up because, like Jen said, the vision was so clear. The vision of having that other baby, falling in love again, growing your family. Hey, Leanne! The vision of feeling good or being someone who says I can exercise, or I exercise, is so strong that the time shows up. So there's a piece of faith that comes with making a leap like this, making a new decision in your life. How, like, our program, for instance, has a one-on-one coaching commitment. So you get one-on-one time with each of us, and then group coaching. Well, that's time, right? Like, finding a half hour a week to get on with me and a half hour a week to get on with Jen might feel like, I don't have time for that. But what it is going to create in your life, just the way exercise has for me, or having another baby, it just is expansive. It's expansive. You grow outward in a way that makes more room.
Right. Yeah. What comes up for me is that you don't need to find more time. You need to find more energy.
Yeah.
Right? You need to
True.
raise that your energy level, because when you have a raised energy level through exercise or eating right or Feng Shui or doing the work, that we're doing, you feel more energetic and you're like, bring it on, like I got time. I got, I've got all this. You're excited, you're excited to have that new experience to take something on. And also when you're at that raised energy level, like you touched on, your clarity is so intense, right?
It's a totally different game.
Yeah. So it's that inspired action that we talk about. That inspired action comes from that clarity, that clear vision of having that being in that energized state. And when you're in that energized state, you're manifesting things that show up for you.
Like help.
That's a huge one, right? That's the biggest one, is help. It's like, oh, I'm meeting this person right here, right now, because I need them to show up for me right now to make my life easier, right?
Yeah, maybe it's like invite your kid over for a play date, or like you don't know how it's going to show up.
You never know. Yes, it totally shows up. Yeah. So for me, having that raised energy, that level of vibration that's so much higher, it just opens up the world in a whole new way. And that's what this program is all about.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're like zooming right now. So good.
Yeah. Oh, that brings me back to Feng Shui thing, which is that I'm looking at my kitchen sink right now, and one of the like biggest shifts I've made since doing this program work with Jen this round is keeping my counter clean and keeping the dishes done and mostly put away. And when she first told me to do that, I was like, you're crazy.
You crazy, girl.
You're crazy. Like, first of all, I don't have time to be doing dishes all the time.
Right.
We like go to sports and eat dinner and shove food in our mouth, and like there's no time for keeping the counter clean.
Right.
But I have, and the reason that I've stuck with it is because it feels so good.
The intention behind it was,
so I've suddenly I'm using my time differently. Like I will see the dishes on the counter and I'll wash one or two and put them away, and then I will go like butter the toast for my kids' breakfast, and then I'll wash one or two and put them away, and then I'll go take a shower. So instead of thinking that I have to have this massive amount of time to keep my kitchen clean, I've just changed the way I organize my life so that it's part of the routine. And I'm not hard on myself if I only wash 2 of the mugs instead of all 5.
Right.
I've just changed the way that the dishes get done. And that's a huge one for me with Feng Shui. And Jen making suggestions where I'm like, you're crazy. I can't keep. And the coolest part is that my family is following suit, particularly my husband. I didn't say, hey guys, you need to help me keep the kitchen clean because that's the only way you're going to have a sane mama. I just did it. I started doing it because it was important to me, and they're following.
Right.
It's like,
and you didn't even have a conversation about it. That's what I love about Feng Shui. Like when people say to me, I've got, I'm so interested in doing this work, but I have a spouse or a teenager or, all this, all of the family people that are in our lives that lives with us, and they collect things. They have clutter everywhere. Their room is a mess. Like how can I get them on board? And the fact of the matter is that when you start to shift this energy in your home for you and for them, they follow suit. All of a sudden, when you're doing the work, all of a sudden they're catching the vibe. They're catching the fever. We call it the Feng Shui fever for a reason. It's because it just starts, radiating in your house, and it goes through everybody. And all of a sudden everybody's like on a clearing out, it happened in my house just recently with my teenage daughter. I cleaned out my whole closet, and the next day she's doing the same thing. And I didn't ask her to. It's kind of a moot point for dealing with teenagers. But she was just like, I see I see mama, like doing her thing and feeling good, and they want to get on the train. So
it's not perfect. Like this morning, my
No.
teenager had dirty socks on the kitchen floor, and my preteen had dirty socks and shoes right here behind me. And I looked at them and I got mad like 6 times before I was like, just pick them up. Like, if it's bothering you, and then I had this whole story in my head, well, then I'm not teaching them the lesson if I do the work for them. But it was like not a big deal. Like, I picked up the socks, I put them in the hamper, and I put the shoes back out on the porch. And I even left her dirty socks in her shoes. So when she goes out, she's got dirty socks in her shoes. She's going to have to deal with them. But I felt so much better just after not seeing that. So you just let stuff go in a different way too. Okay, we have so many more things to talk about. And ask questions if you have them, or have thoughts you want to share or experiences. For sure, we'll try to be better at looking at the comments. Okay, another one, when you're making a big decision, and should we do? Yeah, we'll just stay in order. So another one is like, I've done stuff like this before and not gotten the results I hoped for. So why is this going to be any different? For instance, every time I do a round of Feng Shui in my house, and I say a round because I'll like move through the whole house, through all the guas. There's 1 or 2 things that stick. Like, the dishes thing didn't stick the last time I did it. It stuck for like a week. But this has been like 6 weeks or 5 weeks, and it's sticking. Last time, one of the things that stuck the most was the bedroom and making the beds and putting the pillows back on the bed. So there's certain things each time that will stick, and that's okay. It doesn't mean Feng Shui didn't work the last time because the dishes thing didn't stick. It just meant I wasn't ready for that to stick. And this time it's been, this is the longest habit I've ever had of keeping my kitchen clean. I've tried exercising before, and it hasn't stuck. I haven't stuck with it. But this time it did. And so everything's changing in our life all the time. All the time. So just because something didn't work a certain way one time doesn't mean it's not going to be. It doesn't mean it was wrong, first of all, because something came out of it that was right. A lesson or an experience or making your bed. But then also, like, just don't bring your old stories to your new experience, right? Like, I dropped out of college once, so if I go back, I'm going to drop out again. Well, no, just change your commitment level, change your determination.
Now you're ready.
Change your vision. Now you're ready. Change your story.
Right.
And so, Jen and I have both invested in a lot of programs and a lot of coaching and a lot of like learning work, personal development work. And we don't get all the results every time, but we get something new. And there's a reason that you do everything at the time that you're doing it. And when you believe that, the results are so much better.
Right.
So we know that this program is freaking amazing
because of the
results we're getting.
Yeah.
And it's the combination of the two. It's the combination of the thought work and the Feng Shui together. Right. I've never been in a program that combines 2 modalities like this. That's where we're seeing the most sticking, massive results.
Right. Because you get stuck on one side, you can move through on another. So if you get stuck in the thought
supporting
work,
each other,
you can make the shift physically in your space, and it loosens things up over here in the thought work so that you can, keep moving forward. Like, it's incredible how they're meshing together. And when you bump up against, some resistance, like in the love area, we can attack it from another angle, right? And I love that you see things a certain way, I see things a certain way, where we have the main goal of getting the person moving forward again. And so we can attack probably isn't the best word.
I like
it. From the 2 different sides to get that momentum back. And it really is incredible.
Last week, I think we both hit a place where we were like a little funky, a little freaked out. And Jed said, like, well, we have to do our own work, which we've been doing all along, but it was just this moment of like, well, we have to do more of it. Like the mind work I do is very systematic. Like you can just choose to sit down and do it. Yeah. And that's same with Feng Shui. Like you can just choose to do it, but you forget. And so the accountability is so important.
The accountability.
So we were able to say to each other, like, hey, do we need to do a little bit of our own work?
Right.
Like we're doing this work with you. And because we're doing it now doesn't mean we will stop doing it when the program ends.
No, not at all.
This is like lifelong work. What we're doing now, what we're going to teach you when you join the program is how to do it so that you can keep doing it.
Right.
And yes, it's awesome to get on with us for one-on-one coaching, but you don't need to do that for the rest of your life.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You need to do that for an intense amount of time so that you learn the tools and then can apply the tools yourself.
Right.
Because we don't want to create a program for you where you're then dependent on us. Like that's not, we would feel pretty crappy about that and you wouldn't get results.
Right. But we will be available. We will, like as you move through life and stuff, we're always here.
We're always here.
Yeah, exactly.
We're
so
always
like
here.
when you bump up against something like really big, of course we're here to, help move through that, in the future for sure.
But it's so cool that we can just step in and do the work, and that's what you'll be able to do after the program. You're like, oh yeah, they taught me how to do that. I can do that. And maybe you shoot us a message, you're like, I just hit a roadblock. And then we say like, hey, did you do the work? And you're like, oh, okay, I got this.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
we're here for that. We're your little angels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And the stuff that we are uncovering, and I do want to say that we're uncovering things and it clicks and then it's we're moving again, right? It's not like this kind of deep dive stuff that you like wallow in. I feel like a lot of times this
the recovery time is so fast,
so quick, right?
Yeah.
You recognize where the block is, you understand the story, and then whoa, that just blew my mind, and then you're moving again, right? Because you have the tools to get back into forward momentum, to step back into power again, and to move forward, and that has been incredible. And
whoever your gurus are, Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, like who are the other gurus? I don't know. Deepak Chopra.
Yeah, yep.
If you think they don't keep using the tools every single day, like
that's what they
teach.
What they
do.
Yeah, that's what they teach is using the tools.
So it's learning to use them quicker and quicker
and
quicker and quicker. And at first it takes work. It takes longer. You're confused. You ask a lot of questions. That's why we're here to talk with you, to do the work with you, because it's a learning curve.
Right.
You're not supposed to know how to do it at the beginning. It's supposed to be confusing and overwhelming because it's new.
Right.
But
and
that's why we're
probably
here.
Done programs without the one-on-one coaching that are overwhelming, and you don't get the momentum because you don't have the outside eyes looking in on your current situation to help you move through it. We're not meant to do this work on our own.
No. Like anyone can read a book, but do you apply everything in the book? No, you have questions along the way, and then you're like,
and then it just kind of
can't really call up the author and be like, so what do I do when this happens?
That would be cool.
But that's what we are. We are the writers of the program, and then we are the people you call up. And you're like, oh, well, this just happened. Now what? We're going to walk you through every single step of the way. Let's do one more. We have 1 minute, which we're totally not going to do in a minute, but we'll go a little over. That's okay. Because money is such a big piece. Huge.
Yep.
So I'm trying to find what I wrote, but a common objection is I can't invest that kind of money in myself right now. Like that money goes to groceries, that money goes to debt, that money goes to whatever. Like I know this would be amazing for me, but I can't invest that kind of money in myself right now. Right. And this is a tough one because until you do it, it's really hard to be able to explain it. Right. The biggest financial leap I've made in terms of investing in myself was back last summer. So it's been almost a year. Maybe it was August. So I guess 9 months or whatever. And if someone had told me 3 years ago that I was going to be spending this kind of money on myself on a monthly basis, and be like, you're crazy.
Right.
I don't have that kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we live, like, that's not in the budget.
Right.
What taking that leap and making that investment has done for me is mind-blowing. Right. And so much more has come my way, like in terms of my own inner peace, in terms of my determination to keep going, in terms of my stick-to-itiveness for my vision. Because I said to myself and to the world, like, you're worth it. You're worth it. And I know when you're listening, all the bells go off, like, well, that works for you, but it wouldn't work for me because literally I don't have the money. Well, I'm not telling you to use a credit card, but I've done that many times in my life and never regretted it because I do it responsibly. You know, like, I don't have loads and loads of credit debt. But I've done it before when I invested in Alfie the first time. This is 5 years ago now, but I invested in a network marketing company. I was like, if I'm in, I'm all in. I borrowed the money from my mother. Who wants to call their mother at like 35 years old or however old I was, 34 years old, and be like, can I borrow $3,000?
Right.
But exactly. I did because I saw the vision and I paid it off 10 months faster than I thought it would. But it was scary. Right. It's totally scary to invest in yourself is what I want to say. It's not easy. It's a leap. It's a risk. For some people, they're like, oh, that's a drop in the bucket. Of course I'll invest $3,000. But for other people, it's like totally scary. So we just want you to know that we get that. Right. But we've done it, and oh my gosh, if I had never invested in Alfie, I don't even know where I'd be right now. Right. Like, I don't know where I'd be, but I know I wouldn't be this ding dang darn happy.
And you felt it, right? You felt it in your core that this was your next move.
I had to find a way. Yeah. And so the way was asking my mama.
Right. Well, and you know, for me, when I've had opportunities to when I felt it in my bones to do a program or do coaching, I have had the money show up. It just shows up, you know.
You had that story.
Yeah. And so I'm, you know, that's what being in alignment really presents, is that all of a sudden you're like, okay, I got to do this. I feel it in my core that this is going to change my life. The money shows up. It just happened to one of our clients. The money showed up. She's like literally quaking in her boots going, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I know this feels right. I've got full body chills right now.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know how I'm going to make this work, but I know that this is going to change my life. And I got a message from her yesterday. And she said, you remember how you said that the money would show up? Well, guess what? It just did. Right. And so that is the magic of it. And it's just showing up for yourself, right? And also a big conversation that we need to have is that this isn't just for you, right? This is for everybody around you that's going to benefit from you doing this work. Like for all the mama bears out there that are like, I can't spend this kind of money on myself because, you know, it's taking away from my family and da, 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 da. It's not taking away from your family. It is absolutely investing in your family by doing this work because it opens up so much for you. Yeah. And they all benefit from it. And the abundance that comes from it starts to flow, right? It's incredible. And I see it time and time again, and it really is absolutely magic. And it feels magic. That's what I love about it, is that it actually is, it's all science, right? It's like this whole energetic thing is all science, but it feels magical. And, and that's what I prefer to call it.
We are coming up on time here, but
okay.
I have a favorite visual of that. When I take care of me, everyone benefits. So I would be happy to send you a private voice message of that favorite thing specifically for you. So if you are watching this and want to know my favorite way to represent how taking care of you takes care of everybody, pop me a message and I'll send it to you.
I want the message.
Okay, I'll send it to you too. So whatever you're deciding in your life, if you're deciding to go back to school, if you're deciding to have another baby, because I mean, it's all money, time, results, like in all of those things.
Right.
Having babies isn't cheap, let me tell you that.
Yeah.
But the money shows up. You're living paycheck to paycheck. You have another baby. Somehow you pay for the diapers.
Yeah.
I don't know how
Right.
I paid for some of those diapers,
Yeah.
but my kids always had diapers.
Right. Exactly.
Literally, I don't know how we fed ourselves when they were teeny tiny sometimes, but we did.
Yeah.
The money showed up, the time showed up, the love showed up, the results showed up. So it's all related. Whatever decision you're making in your life, it's all related. It's not just our program. We just really felt like this was such a clear opportunity to talk about all those things.
Yeah.
Because these things that come up for people when making the decision are, if you learn the tools, take the leap. Notice the pockets of time. If you use all the tools that we've just talked about in all the parts of your life, everything's going to shift.
Yeah.
So
Massive
it just gets
shifts.
better and better and better. But we hope that this was a taste of
Right.
week 3.
Yeah, week 3.
Giving you a little taste of what we've got. And we're going to do one more week.
Yeah, one more week. And maybe we'll do more. We'll see.
Yeah.
This has been really fun, but we'll definitely see. But the one thing I want to say is that even if you're a little bit on the woo side, and this is something that's really calling to you to do this program, then watch for a sign that says that it's, it's supposed to happen, right? Put it out there, put it out into the world, show me a sign that, this is the step that I'm supposed to take, because it will show up.
Yeah.
I promise.
I love that. Yeah. Ask for it and then listen. Because sometimes we ask for it and then we don't listen.
And then we're like,
oh, that was a sign?
Whoops, missed it.
Missed that turn. But it is true. We've seen that happen a lot with people. So definitely one more week of Feng Shui Friday. Send us any of your questions if you have them about anything in your life that stresses you out or challenges you or you don't know how to navigate around. And then in June, we start our program. So we are going to be investing a lot of our time and energy in our clients. So definitely won't be doing this weekly.
Not weekly,
I can't imagine.
Right. But maybe monthly.
Or maybe we'll switch it up, or maybe we'll find the time.
Right.
If it's important.
There you go. Yeah, it feels good to me. So we will find the time. Yeah.
So we'll figure out what's next. But thanks for listening again.
Okay.
Bye. So many steps to end these things.